Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Snack Bar. I am Geraldine, and with me I have.
Hi, I'm Jedd Young, and Happy New Year, everyone.
Woo!
Yeah,
And
2017.
I think as we're recording this, the Golden Globes is happening tonight in America,
Or tomorrow morning. Yeah,
or tomorrow morning for us.
for us,
Yeah.
yeah.
So good luck to those people. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the end.
More or less, yeah. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association. The Golden Globes is the one that serves dinner, though, so, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And wine. That's why people come.
Yeah, they have an open bar, so you have, there was one year where Kate Blanchett is just, drunk off her ass and just holding her shoes in her hands. That's hilarious.
And I think Jimmy Fallon, or I can't tell what's the difference between Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Fallon
One
is
of them is
hosting the Golden Globes, and then Jimmy Kimmel is hosting the Oscars.
That is so sad.
Yeah, so Jimmy Fallon, he's the giggly one. He's the one who looks like a small child, and he can't keep a straight face. And yeah, either find him really endearing or really annoying. And then Jimmy Kimmel is sort of more cynical.
Yeah, I remember Jimmy Kimmel is the one that hates YouTube Let's Plays.
Yes.
And Jimmy Fallon is the one that loves Nintendo. So as annoying as I find him, I'm happy that, he seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah,
so whatever.
yeah.
Post whatever you want.
That's right, yeah.
God, why are they confusing me like this?
There's so many.
Why must there be like two Jimmys?
There are lots of Jimmys, yeah.
And I think it took me last year to find out that they're two different people because they look so alike to me.
Really? Okay, that's weird. I don't think they look alike.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm terrible at remembering faces. So, okay, anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
Yes, Jedd, did you watch any movie this week? I've watched something this week, but we'll talk about that later.
Cool, okay.
What did you watch?
So I've watched a bunch of movies this week. Very recently I watched Split, so that's a new M. Night Shyamalan film.
The SJWs don't like that.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say that.
I actually don't like it, and yeah, it's where do we start with this? Okay, so the positive is that I think this is the right general direction that M. Night Shyamalan should be heading, where it's a much smaller scale horror thriller. So he's staying away from the blockbuster sort of stuff that was his undoing, things like The Last Airbender, which he really could not handle and didn't play to his strengths. So yeah, the premise of it and why people have a problem with it, why I have a problem with it, is the villain is played by James McAvoy, and he's this guy with dissociative identity disorder, which is formerly known as multiple personality disorder. So he has 23 personalities and kidnaps these 3 teenagers, and the 24th one is about to be unleashed. So his psychiatrist senses something might be amiss, but doesn't really know the extent of his issues. Yeah. So you were talking on Facebook about how you don't like it when people bring in their political views into movie reviews.
We're gonna do that?
Yeah, at the same time, I mean, I think it's very hard to separate what is offensive about this from what works. It's very difficult to go into this saying they are not demonizing people with mental illness. They're not using it as a device. It kind of reminds me of in the old days, if there's a character with a deformity, he would be a villain. They used to do that in the James Bond films. And to me, I think it's kind of insidious because I know nobody is going to this thinking that it's a documentary. This is clearly fantasy. It's clearly fiction. But there'll still be people who think, okay, maybe it's not 100% like this, but maybe it's 50% like this. And I think that's bad enough. Yeah, because there's a lot of misinformation about mental illness around, and it feels kind of lazy to reduce that to a plot device where your villain is a villain because he is born with this with this condition. So that's everything that makes him a villain. And I think that takes away the opportunity to have a compelling villain who is the way he is because of a combination of circumstances and because of distinct choices. So that's what I kind of have a problem with.
So in this film, what you're trying to say is that the mental illness is more of a plot device than, how do I say this without offending anyone?
No, go ahead and yeah, and just I'm not gonna be offended, and just say what you mean to say.
Okay, just take this with a grain of salt. So
Sure,
let's say,
yeah.
because to me this is interesting because they kind of use his 24. I know there are people.
Dissociative identity disorder, DID. They just call it DID.
Yeah, they're like that. They have different personalities basically.
Right. Yeah.
And I think this is one of the films that shows the darker side to it, and it's just using it as a plot device. And to me, it's just a movie, I guess. But then again, I don't like it when a damsel in distress is always there to be a damsel in distress, and that annoys me. But but I'm not going to let it, how do you say, affect my view on how well made the film is. I'll be like, oh, it's kind of sad that that character is wasted that way. But overall, if the film is good, I'm okay with it having a damsel in distress, if that's what it needs to make the film work. So I guess it doesn't justify why they have to demonize, people with mental disorders, I guess.
Yeah, well, I totally get what you're saying, and I think different people take issue with different things, and it totally makes sense that you're annoyed when you see a damsel in distress being used as a plot device. The thing is that with that, most of the time, that's not particularly what the core of the plot hinges on. That the female character is in trouble, and that does not make it that's not the core, and that's not the heart of the story. In this one, the heart of the story is his illness. The movie is called Split, and the whole thing is built upon this condition which he has. And I think what makes it a bit harmful is also the way it's played. Like James McAvoy, I love him a lot, and it's a fun performance to watch, but it's just really exaggerated. So it's just him doing a string of silly voices and very exaggerated mannerisms. So, for example, one of the personalities is a 9-year-old boy. So he does this like kiddie voice and this lisp, and then one of the personalities is this very strict lady, so he wears a dress and a pearl necklace. And then another one, he's like a professor type, so he will wear glasses and he'll go on a long monologue about history and things like that. So it makes it very cartoony. It's kind of like he's a cartoon villain. And I think that I'm able to acknowledge the potential, the dramatic potential in a villain like this, where there's the unpredictability of there are 23 sides of him, you don't know which one you're gonna get. I think that can be used in a certain way, in like a Twilight Zone kind of way. But when you say that this is actually dissociative identity disorder, which is something that exists, I think it does a disservice to not only people with mental illness, but also mental health professionals and counselors and people who have spent their whole lives trying to correct certain stigmas which are perpetuated in fiction, even as it is fiction. So I'm not trying to kick up a big fuss about it, but I'm just saying that, as someone who feels that there's still such a big stigma about mental illness, especially in the part of the world that we live in, and people are so reluctant to talk about it and to learn about it, that something like this is not helpful. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, I'm not saying, burn all the prints of it, this is worthless. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that's my point of view on it.
I just feel like if, people are offended by it, they shouldn't support it at all.
Right.
Like, don't go out and watch the film. You tell people, oh, this is why you shouldn't watch the film, as a think piece. But as, I don't like it when people go out, they know exactly the type of movie it's going to be, and then they come back and they say, oh, and they look out for it. Like, they specifically look out for things to be pissed at.
Right, yeah.
Those are the type of things that I just can't stand.
Yeah, I don't like that either. And I think that there's a balance with that, because I feel that I was kind of hoping maybe there would be some sort of a surprise, some sort of a twist that would make this character turn out to be really sympathetic, and the whole thing would be a big misunderstanding. But spoiler alert, that's not the direction in which it goes.
Yeah. Like, I get it. Like, he's not, I guess he's just not a good character because he feels very one note despite having
23
so
notes.
many personalities.
Yeah, because he's a cartoon supervillain.
I see. Yeah. Because I've been, so the movie I watched was La La Land, yes.
Cool,
and you're right, it's really good.
So good.
It did end the way I hoped it would.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say the ending, but I like the message behind it. I know a lot of people be, confused or upset about it, but I do like it.
It has such a great effect. Yeah, I think that Damien Chazelle is a genius, and I think he is on a hot streak right now. Like, everything he's done so far, people like it. Even Grand Piano, even 10 Cloverfield Lane, people like it. So I'm looking forward to more stuff from him.
So La La Land, I love how it's so old school. Like there's a lot of dancing. Like it's basically Hairspray. I loved Hairspray, the movie,
All right. That's an interesting comparison to draw. I can see where you're coming from. Yep, I get it. Yeah.
because it's so old school. It's very fun. It's very poppy. It's very light.
Yeah, with
Sometimes.
Hairspray, it's like deliberately looks a bit fakey because it looks like it's from that era, like a studio film from the 60s.
Yeah, and it's sort of like that in La La Land. I mean, obviously they do go to some of the LA places that that they've shown. Oh, and I've been to LA once in my life.
Oh, cool.
It was really cool to see, like, oh, Warner Brothers lot. Oh, that
Yeah,
observatory.
Griffith
That's really
Park. I
cool.
love Griffith
Griffin,
Park.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was almost stuck up there, by the way, because it was so late at night and we couldn't find a way down,
Oh,
and the taxi wasn't
that would
coming.
have
So,
been a story. You're stranded at Griffith Park. That's
and it's so scary up there at
interestingly,
night.
yeah, it is. That's the place where the Terminator first appears in the 1984 Terminator, and he needs those punks, right? And he's like, "I need your clothes." So then he punches one of them, and he rips out one of their hearts. So that's at Griffith Park. So that's like what I associate it with the most when I think of movies. But lots of movies have been shot there. Yeah.
Well, I don't remember them at all for some reason. I don't know why I never think of Griffith Park whenever I think of LA. But anyway, yeah, this movie is really great.
It's
I
so
love the
good, yeah.
relationship between Mia and Seb.
Mhm.
I the songs, I think they aren't as catchy, but because they keep playing it in the movie, it gets stuck in your head. So I don't know whether that's fair to say that it's a good song, because I love Sing Street, and I think Sing Street. I mean, I didn't love Sing Street. I love Sing Street's music,
Okay.
and I think they have better music in my opinion.
All right.
But
yeah.
I love the jazz so much, and I'm so glad that we have a director like him to come out and say, "Hey, jazz is amazing. You guys just don't listen to it. You associate it with elevator music, but I love jazz too."
Yeah,
And I'm so glad.
that one conversation they had where he was trying to convince her about the positive qualities of jazz reminded me a little bit of when Tarantino has bits in his movies where a character will go on and on about something they love, and I thought that worked really
Yes.
well in that context.
Yeah, and I'm just. It also reminded me of me whenever I talk about animation with other people, and they're like, "Oh, I don't like that movie." I'm like, "All right, you and we're gonna have a talk. We're gonna watch this movie. Let's go." And I hardly convince anyone, but whatever. I still do it anyway. But yeah, this movie, I think, honestly, I never really felt like it slowed down at all. I thought the pacing was really good.
Yeah, me too.
And I love the song with Emma Stone, the one about dreamers.
Oh
That
yeah,
was a really
audition
great.
piece. I feel that like listening to that over and over again, it kind of strikes me that it has a bit of a similar chord progression to the Rainbow Connection.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I thought too. It definitely does.
Yeah.
That was the first song that I thought of when they played. When I heard the music.
Yeah, the Rainbow Connection is
First,
one of the best movie songs, I think.
It's so sweet.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Like if you turn it upside down, the lyrics, the music, all of it works. I love the Rainbow Connection. That to me is one of the gold standard like movie music songs.
What else is there to talk about La La Land? The actors were good. I think overall this is a really good film. It's not one of my favorites, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I still had a really great time. It just makes you feel really good about life, I guess, if you don't mind the ending.
Yeah, I think that what works with this and what I like a lot about this is how it balances the rosiness and the optimism and the idealism with a dash of harshness of
Reality.
reality. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't think it slams out or collides against each other. I think that it's arranged very well in such that it doesn't feel cynical, which is a difficult thing to do when you're making a movie about rising through the ranks of the entertainment industry and all the doors that get slammed in your face. But it also doesn't feel naive, and I think that it takes an outsider's perspective. It takes somebody who has not grown up in Hollywood, has not been surrounded by Hollywood, because Damien Chazelle's not from LA, and it takes like an outsider's point of view to see LA in this manner. And also it's the most romantic LA has ever looked. LA does not look that romantic at all. The way they color correct it and the way it's shot, and all of the skies look like cake. It looks like candy cake. we can cut into. It's really, really beautiful. The whole effect and the doses of magical realism when they have the fantasy sequences and they have them flying around in the observatory, all that stuff works because it can be very obnoxious. It can be really clumsy or awkward or not well done when they do that, but I really liked it. And there's this bit when she is singing with her roommates, right, and they're walking down the street and they're all color coded and it just works really well. It's not something you notice immediately, but subconsciously you're like, that's nice to look at because each of their dresses are color coded a certain way.
And I think it's also because of the tone that they set up in the beginning of the song. Sorry, in the beginning of the movie. Like, this is the type of movie it's gonna be. And so because of that, it's allowed to be stylish because it established itself as a very stylized film.
Right, yeah, that whole
And I think that's why a lot of it works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so old school. I love it. Like, I mean, I don't know whether you like Les Miserables. I thought it was okay, but I thought it was a little bit too... How do you say? Les Miserables isn't one of my favorite musicals in the first place, but I feel like there wasn't a lot of energy from the movie as the musicals would have.
Yeah, it's there's a forward film review of Les Miserables that calls it "Singing in the Drain," which I find hilarious.
And it's true.
Yeah, because the idea with Les Miserables is that it wanted to be a musical that was not what you associate movie musicals to be, so it didn't want to feel artificial, and so they had everyone in really tight close-ups. It was really dirty and really grimy, and I think some of that worked, some of that didn't work. And yeah, because the source material of Les Miserables is dense and thick and long and epic and depressing, so it's an interesting idea to take a subject.
To a film.
Yes, that's right. To take subject matter like that and musicalize it, because musicals are known or mostly famous for their frivolity. So I think that the person who does the best balance with that is Stephen Sondheim. Because if you look at like Sweeney Todd, if you look at Into the Woods, if you look at Assassin's Company, these are really clever ideas, and some of it plays with turning tropes on their ear, but some of it also plays with embracing classic tropes. So he's the master of that, where that's concerned.
Yeah, I agree. Well, anyway, you have any other movies you want to watch? By the way, I saw Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping. You should watch that. It's quite fun. That's all I have to say about it.
It's
the
the
songs
Lonely
are
Island
amazing.
people, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
I love them. That's why I had to watch it. And the songs are amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing.
Yeah, I might check that out. I don't know. I'm not sure how much I love the Lonely Island. Like, I like them sometimes, and sometimes I'm just really mad at them. What other stuff have I watched? Well, we'll talk about Arrival next week, right? I suppose.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about Arrival next week because I watched that and that was really good. Oh, I watched Why Him.
Oh, how was it?
I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay.
Oh,
yeah. I think the main problem with it is really it's very, very crass, and a lot of the toilet humor and the bodily function jokes are very gratuitous and very egregious. And it's one of those things that at heart it's kind of like a sweet family comedy, but they just load it up with all of the R-rated bells and whistles and trappings to make it seem edgier than it is, which is kind of a common trend in R-rated Hollywood comedies. But what works the most is that cast is, James Franco playing off of Bryan Cranston, and we've gone over many times how much I love Zoe Deutch. She's gorgeous, she's funny, she's really smart. Megan Mullally plays the mom, and Keegan-Michael Key steals the show. He's like the manservant, so he runs around and he plays a character called Gustav. So it's Keegan-Michael Key doing a stupid German accent, and it's really entertaining.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm gonna watch it, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Because I really love the cast as well.
Yeah, I think that the cast helped me overlook how really dumb a lot of the material was. It's really, really dumb. And there's some visual gags that are kind of funny. But it's stuff like, there's just so much stuff about genitals and about bodily functions and bodily fluids, and there's a lot of it seems kind of, and it's one of those movies that also falls back on cameos for laughs.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's set in.
That's Popstar, by the way.
I get it as much. It's set in Silicon Valley, so you have like some of these tech people show up that if you are into. I mean, all the stuff, all the humor that Silicon Valley does better. All of the spoofing of that lifestyle, the California tech elite, sort of lifestyle. Sorry, I cut you off there.
No, it's alright. By the way, Justin Timberlake is great in Popstar. Never Stop, Never Stopping. He's so good. I really like that guy. He's funny. Alright, so because the Golden Globes are tonight or tomorrow, who cares? Because I'm sure anyone who's there don't really care. They're only there for the wine.
Yeah.
Let's look at the past, and let's talk about our favorite films of last year.
Yeah, it's a retrospective episode. I've never done one of these.
Yeah. I'm quite bad at it because my memory is pretty bad. I only remember the things that I like and not the things that I don't.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so
that's good, I think.
Oh, unless it's really
that's healthy.
No, unless it's really, 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 really terrible. Then I will remember it because but the worst part is that I will remember that more than the things that I love.
I see.
So there's this balance going on in my head.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, so okay, do you want to guess the top 2 films of mine, and I'll guess yours?
Oh, that's hard actually. Okay. Let's try. I'm gonna guess Zootopia and Jungle Book.
Okay, and I'm gonna guess yours. It's La La Land and oh damn it. Arrival. Have you seen that?
Yeah, but I'm counting
okay,
that
I'll say that yours is Arrival.
I'm counting that as next year because it gets a wide release. I mean, as 2017.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think of what movies that you said you really loved. I'll say Kubo. I'll say Kubo.
Okay, interesting. Alright, so do we tell each other the answers now?
Yes, okay.
Yeah, you go.
For mine, it's Zootopia and Kimi no Na wa.
Okay, interesting. Alright, so my two that I've narrowed it down to, I'll do... this is hard because like I gave one film 5 stars and I gave several films 4.5. So I'm just trying to stack the 4.5 ones in my head. Yeah, so my La La Land is one, and then the second one, it's a toss up between Sing Street and The Jungle Book actually.
Okay. So why do you love those movies so much? Like what makes them stand out from the pack? Right,
so we've sort of gone over why I like La La Land so much, and I think it can be boiled down to just such a perfectly matched leading romantic couple, and its tone and the balance of how it embraces nostalgia but also has a sort of world-weary wisdom to it, and how it's able to package that in something that's so engaging and eye-catching, and how it's able to play with your emotions but not feel blindly manipulative, which is a difficult thing for a movie to do. So that's why I like La La Land. And then with The Jungle Book, it's such a surprise because I wasn't expecting to love this as much as I did, and I think that's the consensus across the board. Like a lot of people, this sort of snuck under the radar a little bit. It wasn't, let's say, one of the most anticipated Disney releases of 2016. Some people were like, I'm curious to see how this will turn out, but I don't think anyone thought it was going to be the critical and financial success that it turned out to be. And I think that it makes such a good case for using CGI as a storytelling tool. And if you have a good vision, if you have, it's I think a very good example of a remake, of approaching material, judging what works, judging what doesn't work, and adapting it to suit a different audience in a different time, yet not changing it beyond recognition, which Jon Favreau and Justin Marks, the screenwriter, were very smart about.
I mean, honestly, like the animated Jungle Book film, I don't really like it as much.
Yeah, do I?
Yeah,
it's weird.
It's
sort of like it's patchy. Yeah.
And it's also like when you're high, I guess you can watch it and you're like, oh look, there's a snake that's trying to drug people too. I'm making such a terrible case for it, but the only thing that stood out to me in The Jungle Book as a kid were the songs.
Right.
So I'm really glad that they brought the songs into the new film.
Yes, because I'm so sure at one point they were saying we cannot make this a musical.
Yeah. And they did it. And they did do that, and I'm really, really glad. Yeah, and I'm really glad that Jungle Book is one of your favorite too. Like all the flank that CGI is getting, it's nice to have that kind of critically acclaimed film that CGI doesn't actually ruin movies. It's like as long as you have a vision, you can do it.
Exactly.
Just make sure you do it well.
It goes for any filmmaking tool. Just as there can be bad and good CG, there's bad and good makeup effects. There's bad and good model work. And another thing that really worked with Jungle Book for me was the voice cast. they cast big names, but they all suited the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And even the relatively minor supporting characters like Raksha, the mom, and Akila, the dad, Lupita Nyong'o and Giancarlo Esposito, everybody was really good. I don't think anyone really stuck out to me as this doesn't work or this is stunt casting. And even like when they changed Car from a male to a female character and they got Scarlett Johansson to do it, that worked really well. So it all worked.
Yeah, and it's a sexy voice too, which suits a snake, I guess.
Yeah, sort of seductive, And Neil Sethi, what a revelation. That's a good performance. And it's a lot of fun to watch the behind the scenes stuff. There's a bit where he's like, I'm wearing a diaper, why does everyone call it a loincloth? He's very cute.
Oh, you know what? I should have said that one of your favorite films was Rogue One. So why isn't that on your list? I'm very curious.
Yeah, I think that Rogue One is one of the films I gave 4.5 stars to. So it's at the end of the day, it's like the things that are more unique, I guess, are what moves it up the ranking. Because there's a lot in Rogue One which I love, but there's also a lot in Rogue One which I'm familiar with from other genre films. So with Rogue One, it was one of the films I gave 4.5 stars to. So let me run down the movies I gave 4.5 stars to, right, in 2016.
Okay.
I gave 4.5 stars to 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Nice.
Yeah, I gave 4.
That's my runner-up.
Cool. Yeah, I gave 4.5 stars to Sing Street. I gave 4.5 stars to Jungle Book, and I gave 4.5 stars to Rogue One. And I'm probably forgetting something now, but that's what I can remember off the top of my head. Things that I gave like a 9 out of 10, and the only thing I gave a 10 out of 10 to was La La Land.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's my rationale. I think like if you maybe I would put all of the 4.5 star ones on the same level, but out of those, I think Jungle Book sort of stands out for me. In terms of what it did for advancing the art form of cinema, I guess.
And how about Sing Street?
Yeah, Sing Street. Like I like Sing Street a lot. I think Sing Street, when compared with La La Land is splashier. But Sing Street, I guess you could say, is more earnest and perhaps a little bit too naive. But I think that's part of its charm. And yeah, I really, really love Sing Street. I still really love Sing Street. And I like that it's kind of an underdog thing right now with Sing Street versus La La Land, as people are sort of taking sides and saying, no, I prefer this one and no, I prefer that one. And I think it's fun that in 2016 we had two non-animated musicals that broke into the conversation, at least, even if it's not, let's say, huge box office, everyone's talking about it, people still have heard of La La Land and Sing Street. And I think, and I like that. I think Sing Street and La La Land, they are nostalgic, but in different ways. And the way that La La Land is nostalgic is a bit more complex and a bit more artful than the way that Sing Street is artistic, even though Sing Street is great. So, yeah.
I think Sing Street is great in that you don't have to have huge dreams.
Right.
Unlike La La Land, where you have to become a super famous star, and like when you walk into Starbucks, people notice who you are, and they'll give you free things as well. I think that was what La La Land kind of had. Emma Stone sort of tried to go for that kind of success, whereas in Sing Street, it was more like, I just want to get the girl. And then because of that, he had bigger dreams. He didn't want to, be a record smashing hit or whatever. He just wanted to have a band, and he wanted people to like his music. And I think that kind of goal is really nice to have. Like you said, it's naive, I guess, but it's also very sweet because it's about this young boy trying to follow his passion. And I think that's great.
Yeah, and Sing Street, I think Sing Street is a lot more of an ensemble piece than La La Land. Like, each of those characters are fleshed out quite a bit more than the supporting. Because in La La Land, it's really literally only Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. John Legend barely makes an impact. And in Sing Street, it's such a memorable bunch of supporting characters. You've got Eamon, you've got Eun-gi, and you've got all of his friends who are in the band together with him. And I liked that. I thought that it reminded me a little bit of Super 8. Except that instead of making a zombie movie, they were making music videos, and I was very charmed by that.
Yeah, I love Super 8 as well.
Super 8's so good. I feel that it's kind of underrated that people just dismiss it. They go, oh, it's just J.J. Abrams trying to be Steven Spielberg. Like, no, look at it more, appreciate it for more than that.
Alright, so for me,
your turn, yeah.
the first one, obviously, Zootopia,
Mm-hmm.
because I think Judy Hopps is one of the best female characters ever. In fact, the best female character, the best character ever Disney has given us, because she's so. I love that she's sort of an underdog, but she has her own flaws. You know, she's a little bit racist, I guess. But
Everyone's a little bit racist sometimes.
yeah, I love that song. I think that song is. I really want to give SJWs that song just to show them that they are kind of hypocrites as well. But anyway, I think Judy Hopps is an amazing character. I love her relationship with Nick Wilde. I don't know. People say it's romantic. I don't really see it. I see it more as a friendship thing. But yeah, um, Zootopia, the message behind it is so beautiful as well. It's like you have to accept people and not have sort of a prejudgment of them, because that's not fair. And I think one of the most powerful scenes I've seen in a film this year, which I think was hit a little bit too close to home, because we know that these kind of things exist, where I forgot whether it was a bunny, I think, and then a small kid, and then the mom just brought the little kid away from this predator.
Right, yeah.
And I thought that scene, that one shot, was so beautiful. And then you see Judy's reaction to that, and she's like, "Oh crap,
Yeah.
I
What
did
have I
that."
done? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the message is so beautiful, and I love the world building as well, and I love all the side characters. You know, the one that's like the mob boss.
Oh, Mr. Big, yeah.
Um, yeah, Mr. Big. I love
Oh,
the
Morgan
wolf.
Freeman. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, sorry, not the wolf, the fox that was mean to her in the past, and then he grew up and
Oh,
he's
yeah,
like,
the
"Oh
school
man,
bully.
I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was such a sweet scene, and you know the line was kind of weird, but I like that he had some sense of humor, and I love the plot twist, and I didn't see it coming, so that was nice. Um, yeah, I think this overall it's probably my favorite Disney Renaissance film. I think it's the best Disney film since Aladdin. In fact, if I was a kid, I'd probably like this film more, because I think this is a more coherent there's a more coherent story in this.
Yeah, it's
And Nick
it's
Wilde,
less
he's
like
a great character too.
yeah, it's less reference heavy than Aladdin, I suppose.
I guess, but there are some there are some Easter eggs, like the Godfather,
Yeah,
of
and the Breaking
course,
Bad
and
thing.
then
Yeah,
yeah,
I like
I
that.
yeah, amazing film. I can't stop thinking about this film. Like I've seen it, I think 5 times, and every time I still get so sad and emotional over that scene where Judy is asking for Nick's forgiveness for misjudging him, and for having that sort of racist thoughts in her head. And she's like, "I'm so sorry, but predators shouldn't suffer because of me. And if you ever want to leave me after this, I'm okay, because I was a terrible dumb bunny." It's like, oh my god, the voice acting is so great. The acting performance in the animation is so great. The lighting is amazing, where Nick is in the light and Judy is in the dark, like in the shadows. Oh, it's so well done, this movie. Oh, sorry.
No, that's good. I mean, this is what we have a retrospective show for, is sort of go back and gush over things that we have loved and say why we love them. And I do agree, yeah, with pretty much all of your points. This, to me, was a surprise. I wasn't expecting it to have the kind of emotional impact that it did. I wasn't expecting for it to be as artistically meticulous as it was. I just love all of the choices they've made in the design, and how the animals are anthropomorphized, but the buildings are animized. So there's sort of there's like a juxtaposition, and they playing with scale was very fun when you have really small animals coexisting with really large animals, and the
Yes.
logistics about how that works. I thought that was very amusing. A lot of cool visual gags, and yeah, it's a film about racism, about prejudice, about bigotry, and it's trying to convey that to a younger audience, but it's not patronizing. It's not
Not at all.
condescending. Yeah,
I have no idea how they managed to weave in that kind of story without
it's hard.
sounding super
Yeah,
preachy.
yeah. And I think the reason why that works is because we care about the characters, and because the characters are not simply hollow vessels to contain a message, which is what you get in some films that come off as preachy. So because they're
Mm-hmm.
well developed in and of themselves, the message can be added on top of that and is carried by them instead of as a substitute for actual characters. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's good storytelling.
Yeah, well said, Chad.
Thank you.
This film is amazing. Like, please watch it if you haven't, even though I kind of spoiled the entire thing.
Yeah,
But
and I like that it's a sort of an underdoggy quality because it's not the Disney princess film. And I think it's a little bit of what we got with The Lion King, where everyone was putting all of their expectations on Pocahontas instead of The Lion King, and then The Lion King came out and people hold it much higher regard today than Pocahontas.
mhm.
Yeah,
Poor Pocahontas.
I know. Yeah,
It's
it's
like
not bad.
it's so sad because people have like high expect. People said, "Oh, that was the film that was supposed to do well for Disney, and critically it was okay, and financially it was okay."
Yeah,
And people keep reminding it that it was not supposed to be that way. It was supposed to be a success. But look at Lion King. It's so sad.
yeah. I like both of them. Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, I like Pocahontas and Lion King. I think both of them have equal sentimental value.
Yeah. So my next film is Kimi no Na wa,
Yeah,
which
your
is
name.
the Japanese. Yeah, the Japanese film.
Right,
And
yeah. We didn't get to talk
I
about this after I watched it.
yeah. Well, apparently the director is kind of upset that people are still watching his film because they keep comparing him to Miyazaki,
Yeah,
and he's kind of sick of
that's a
that. So he's like,
burden.
please,
Yeah.
yeah, please don't watch my film. I know it's not as perfect as Studio Ghibli, but please.
No, that's so
please
sad.
don't.
I feel bad for
Yeah.
him now.
And and the thing is, I kind of understand how he feels because I think he sees his flaws in the movie, and he's afraid that someone like Miyazaki will be like, "Oh, what's this film about?" And then he watches it and it's like, "Oh, there's a problem here, there's a problem there," and he's sort of showing. He's basically telling. I forgot his name. Let me search his name. I forgot. He's such a great director too.
Motoko
Hang
Shinkai or something?
on. Makoto Shinkai. That's
Yeah, I
right.
remembered it. Kinda.
Yeah. Such a great film. So why I love it? It's the same reason you love La La Land. It's the relationship between the two characters, and it's amazing too because I think they only have let me count. Not counting the opening credits, they only have about 4 to 5 scenes on screen for the
Together,
entire
right?
film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yet they've built up this relationship for some, I don't even know why, but it works so well because you really support them. You really want them to get together because they've lived in each other's life, and because of that they've sort of fallen in love with what goes on around them. They fall in love with the people that they are friends with, and because of them keeping notes for each other on what you're supposed to do, they've sort of liked each other, and I really love the chemistry between both of them, and the song is amazing too. This film is so beautiful to look at, and I mean, my biggest problem with this film is the pacing. Like, I feel like the pacing slows down a lot in the middle of the film.
It's got a bit of
When-
a flabby midsection. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're trying to figure out what's happening and why this is happening.
Yeah, there's a few too many
And-
montages of their lives.
Well, I mean, I think that's just anime.
Yeah, I
But,
guess.
What was I about to say? I really love how when you watch the film for the first time, you're like, oh, okay, I guess that's the twist. But then when you watch it again the second time, you're like, oh, wow, they've actually weaved in a lot of these hints on what's going on in the film. And, for this reason, that's like really good storytelling as well. And I love how they use the music to tell the story, because there's one, I don't know whether this is considered a spoiler, but there's one part where the boy, Taki, I shouldn't say this, I'm so bad at Japanese names, I'm so sorry. But Taki goes out on a date with this other girl that Mitsuha set up for him when she was in his body.
Right, yeah.
And during the date, what was playing was Mitsuha's theme, which is, I don't know, I really like that because, he's thinking of her,
yeah,
even though,
I did not notice
yeah,
that,
like
yeah.
I think this film, like, it is, you look at this film for storytelling, like, it has so many little details that you miss out in the first or even in the second screening, and I love this film the more I watch it, and I'm still listening to the soundtrack and just like, silently crying to myself because it's so good. I love this film so much. I think the voice actors did such an amazing job, and oh man, please watch this film. Even though you may not, wait, hang on. You're not into anime,
Yeah,
and I'm not really
at
into
all,
anime
no,
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was really surprised on how much I loved it. Well, I kind of like anime more than you do.
Yes.
Because I love watching anime just to point out the
The
tropes.
tropes, yeah.
And pointing out the tropes before the tropes
No,
happen.
I can't do that.
Like, I just started watching. I just started watching Bleach because Lucas told me to watch Bleach, whatever. So I decided to do that. And there was one part where I was just like, usually at this point of the story, they'll be like, ooh, I want to get stronger. I want to get stronger to protect the one I love. And at that episode, he said exactly that. I was so proud of myself.
Well done.
And that's the reason I watch anime.
Okay.
For that.
Yeah, with anime, there's call me close-minded or rigid, but there's so many stylistic things you just can't get over. And there were certain stylistic things that bothered me with Your Name, but I did really, really love the attention to detail and the contrast in the settings, how they contrasted Tokyo with the village where Mitsuha grows up and lives, and how they work the culture into the I guess you could call it MacGuffin, into the mystery, and how there was a connection to certain traditions and certain customs. So that was kind of cleverly done, and I think I told you that every single vending machine I was transfixed by. I was mesmerized by all the vending machines in this film. I was like, that looks so much like an actual vending machine.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I enjoy watching anime films and not really anime itself, because anime films, they always have their own culture. They want to tell a story with their culture involved in it, and to me that's very fascinating.
Yeah.
Like I love watching I didn't love the film, but I found something like Summer Wars very entertaining because it was so Japanese.
Same director,
because
right?
No, it's a different director, but he had this clan thing going on, and it's like, oh, it's this huge family, and then they have all the clan backstory the family backstory, and it's really, really cool. Like, the concept itself is cool. The movie is kind of boring, but I like. Oh, it's the same voice actor too for Taki, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's I that's why I enjoy Your Name a lot, because I was missing Tokyo as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
just come
nice
back from
see.
Tokyo when you're talking about this.
Yeah, and it's so nice to just look at the film because it's such a beautiful film. And my friend, he just came back from Japan and he got me the art book, so that's really
cool.
nice. And I've seen, the art book is beautiful. This film is so gorgeous, and I love the story as well. The story, I don't know whether people like it because there's a lot of plot holes in it, especially if you watch it 3 times like I did. But I think the characters and the idea of the story is good enough for you forgive those like little nitpicks.
Yeah, and I also like the hypotenuse in the love triangle. I like his superior at the cafe, the girl whom he goes on a date with, and there's a third girl in the love triangle, and I like her character. I've got a name.
Yeah, and she's very cute, and I like that they didn't up the love triangle.
No, yeah, I felt that was kind of that felt natural, the way it was treated. It also really reminds me of this Thai film I watched a couple of years back called Teacher's Diary, which I love. It's the concept, like, there's nothing supernatural or fantastical about the concept, but it's similar in the way that it's about this young man and he becomes a teacher on a houseboat in a rural part of Thailand, and he finds the diaries written by the teacher who used to have his position at this houseboat working with these kids. And so as he reads the diaries, he starts to fall in love with this girl without even knowing what she looks like or not knowing who she is. And they intercut like the time frame, so they show her time with the students and then they transition to his time with the students like 1 or 2 years later. And so the whole thing is his relationship as a teacher with the students, but also him like being fascinated over who is this girl, who is this woman who worked here before I did, and trying to track her down. So it's it's really, really sweet, and it's also beautiful because it's a part of Thailand you don't normally see in films. There's a lot of mist and sunsets, and it's set on a houseboat, and you have like the way of life that is different from Bangkok and what you normally see in Thailand.
Yeah, okay, that sounds really cool. I'll check
Good
it out
movie,
if
yeah.
I can find
and
it.
both the leads are so charismatic, and just like in Your Name, spend very, very little time, if at all, on screen together.
If at all, is that a spoiler?
Not sure, yeah. Like, you're not supposed to know whether they do or do not spend time on screen together, so I always phrase it that way.
Okay, so well, my runner-ups, I said 10 Cloverfield Lane,
yeah,
and then I want to put The Witch too.
Oh, that's
I saw that
good
this
one.
year.
Yeah, the girl from The Witch, Anya Taylor-Joy, she's the main lead in Split, the main female lead in Split, and she's really good at it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think she helped me enjoy the film a bit more because her character is sort of like a social outcast and has a tragic past, so they give you like flashbacks. And when they tell you what actually
Mhm.
happened with her, it feels very emotionally manipulative. So that's another reason I didn't
Okay.
really like Split. On top of the mental illness thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And The Witch is really good. It's not a typical horror film. Like it doesn't scare you every single second, but I think it's a really good slow burn
Yeah.
film. And when you find out what's going on at the end, you're like, ugh.
I would say
Okay.
it's a uh, period drama horror. So in that order,
Yeah.
yeah.
And my second one is it's actually a horror film. It's The Conjuring 2. I
Oh,
just
I
really
didn't watch
love.
that. I've heard a lot of my friends who love horror movies like it though. Sorry, I cut you off there.
Yeah, it's alright. Yeah, the story is really good. I love the relationship between the two. What's their names
Ed and
again?
Lorraine. So
Ed
Patrick
and
Wilson
Lorraine.
and Vera Farmiga.
Yes, like oh, it's so sweet, and I love how the Conjuring films. There's always a heart to it. There's always a human relationship. There's always a reason. The reason why they want to help the kids is because they have a kid themselves. So they want to help out that family because they know what it's like.
Right.
And they don't want them to lose each other, and I think that's really really sweet. And I think the whole point of the Conjuring series is basically family, and I really really like that. So the Conjuring 2, and it's so scary too. Like I was watching, yeah, the nun scene is the scariest thing.
Yeah, she's
I've seen
getting
this
her
year, but
own spin-off.
yeah, I just realized I'm alone downstairs, so I'm kind of scared right now just thinking about the nun. But yes, so let's go on to the next
Wait,
one. What is your most?
So before that, no, like with the Conjuring. Okay, so I just wanted to ask you: does it bother you that Ed and Lorraine Warren are sort of proven con men in real life, or do you look at it as fiction?
Fiction.
Yeah, so that's how you view it, and instead of it being like it's inspired by a true story, and these people are
Well,
more or less frauds.
for me, I would like to think that Ghost Unreal.
I see. Okay.
So I'll just have it at that.
Yeah, I think that's
so
a
that
good
I don't have to
that's
face
a good
any.
rationalization. Cool. Okay.
All right. So what's your most underrated film of the year?
Underrated.
Mhm.
Okay. So I feel like not a lot of people talked about Pete's Dragon.
Oh, not me.
Yeah, and
And it sounds like the type of film that I would love because it's a boy and his thing, right?
the way you phrased it, a boy and his thing.
His ex.
Yeah, his ex. Sorry. Yeah, that's where my mind went. Yeah, it's a boy and his ex, and okay, so this really flew under the radar in that I guess it's not one of the bigger Disney things that was released in 2016. But I really wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. I thought it was going to be decent, but I didn't think I was going to. It was really going to hit all of those notes that it did, and part of it is that it's again banking on nostalgia because it's set in the 80s, even though this is not super obvious. So it completely changes the setting of the original film, which was set in like the early 20th century in coastal Maine, I think, and this one sets it in the Pacific Northwest, like in the forests, and you have the whole mythology where the dragon himself is sort of set up as this is a myth, a mystical like cryptid like Bigfoot, that people think they may have seen when they were hiking, and it turns out that he's actually real. And the whole relationship that they set up between the boy and the dragon and Elliot, it's strengthened because of the relationship between the boy and the woman who picks him up, Grace, who is played by Bryce Dallas Howard, and her father is played by Robert Redford, and these are all great performances. And Carl Urban is the bad guy, and he's a fun bad guy. He's not super mustache twirly, but he's also just cartoony enough. And the character animation on Elliot is astounding. I like the decision they made to make him furry, because he's not furry in the original version. And yeah, it comes together really really well. It's also got quite a fun song that Lindsay Sterling, the rock violinist, has a featured solo on.
For me, for me, underrated means no one talks about it. So I'll talk about it. Star Trek Beyond.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be that fun. It was really, really fun, and I love the characters in it as well. I think what's great about it is that everyone had its time to shine, even though it was such a huge cast.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's I don't know. I kind of liked it more than Civil War.
I understand. Yeah.
Is that wrong to say that?
No, it's not wrong to say. I gave both movies the same score.
Yeah, because I think I think Civil War it has a deeper message, but I like that Star Trek Beyond is just a fun film.
Yeah, we're gonna talk
And
about
it's
Civil
just
War in a bit. Trust me on that.
yeah, it's just a really fun film, and I loved every single one of the characters. I like that they didn't repeat the story with Spock and Captain Kirk
Yeah,
fighting again.
yeah.
And I really like the pair up between him and I think it's Carl Urban again, right?
Yeah, they put Spock together with Bones,
And that was a really really fun
funny.
relationship
Yeah.
to see. What else is
Did
there?
you
I
like
like the main.
Jayla?
Yeah, I love Jayla. She's so
She's a
badass,
great
and I like that
character.
she has character too.
Hmm.
The screenwriting is great. I don't know. This film is just. I think it's a really good film. It's really fun, and I really want people to watch it more because I think because Star Wars is back, so people think okay that's my daily dose of sci-fi, but I think Star Trek is good enough,
Well,
and
yeah,
it's also a different
they're
tone as
very
well.
different. No, yeah. I mean, Star Wars is space fantasy, and Star Trek is like it's science fiction. It's futuristic.
Well, to be fair, Star Trek isn't really Star Trek anymore, but it is still fun.
I think that the core of it remains in that Starfleet is an exploratory society, and Star Trek Beyond does a very good job of talking about how Starfleet is not a military agency, about how it's not
Yeah.
about fighting wars, and the whole conflict and the whole reason that the villain is the way he is because of this philosophy.
And it's so sad that this is Anthony Yelchin's last film. Oh, not last, but one of his last films.
Yeah, it hurt, man, because
was so
he's
fun in
great.
this.
He's a wonderful Chekhov. I mean, this cast, I always say, in terms of reboot cast, the Star Trek reboot has one of the best in terms of how they match the spirit and in some cases the physical appearance of the actors for the originals, and also the way they handled the passing of Leonard Nimoy in this film.
Yeah.
I really hope they do something like that for Carrie Fisher, because this was very classy, very respectable, very solemn, but it did not clash with the overall tone of the film. And they let the mourning for Spock Prime have its moment.
Yeah, and also it sort of weaves into Spock's problem as well.
It does, yeah. It's like the dawning on him of mortality.
Yeah, and I think that's great. And what else is there to say? Did I say that the visual effects were good? I don't remember. Like the villain was kind of sad.
Yeah.
I was kind of sad that he was sort of wasted.
Yeah,
Idris
yeah.
Elba is an amazing actor.
That was
Just sucks
the
that
big
he's
thing
in
that
it.
disappointed me was the villain and the villain reveal, because I think they felt very proud about that, and they thought it was really really clever, and I don't think it was as clever as like Simon Pegg and Doug Young thought it was.
And I wanted to
Yeah, the
say
visual
that
effects
I
are very
watched.
good, very very good. The whole like finale where the Enterprise is crashing into not the Enterprise but the whatever it was, that old ship was crashing into Yorktown. That was really well done.
Yeah, and I love the music sequence that goes along with it. It's so good.
Yeah.
What was it again? Savage or something?
Sabotage by the Beastie Boys.
Sabotage, I'm sorry. And also I watched Troll Hunters with Anthony Yelchin as well. Oh, it's so sad to hear his voice. He did such a great job.
Yes, yeah.
As the character.
I saw the first episode of that, and I'm not compelled to continue, but it's good.
Well, it's not bad. Like just watch it when you have something on, because it's a good binge watch film because it doesn't require a lot of mental
energy.
You don't. Yeah, it doesn't require a lot of mental energy, and it's really fun. Like there's a lot of colors, and the animation and rendering is really really good for a TV production.
It is
like amazing.
Yeah. And Guillermo del Toro, he said that the character who dies at the beginning of the first episode is actually voiced by Tom Hiddleston.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
That it probably got him to do it while they were doing Crimson Peak, I guess.
Yeah, alright, that's fun. And also The Nice Guys, but I think Star Trek Beyond is the one that I want to say is underrated, because I hear more people talking about The Nice Guys in Star Trek.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I was very okay with Star Trek Beyond. I didn't think it was terrible, but I didn't like it as much as Into Darkness and Star Trek 09, which is weird because a lot of people said I like this better than the previous two.
Oh, okay. I like 09 more, but Beyond is really, really fun. Okay, so I don't get it. We don't get these films.
This is gonna be a fun one. I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, alright.
Yeah, and now spoiler, I think you told me what that film is. I'm guessing it's Civil War.
Yeah, it is. It kind of is Civil War, and I'll have to go because I regret not being around for the Civil War episode. I think Sarah did a wonderful job, and I'm glad you let me call in and pre-record a segment. But I did want to talk about that in detail, and I didn't have the chance to. So I'm gonna use
And
this.
now it's your turn.
Yes. Okay. So caveat: I did not hate this movie. I think it's fine. And a lot of people were seriously reconsidering the status of their friendship with me after they found out that I had given Civil War exactly the same grade as Batman v Superman. And honestly, in my head, yeah, same.
Well, I was about to say that DC was paying you, but never mind.
No, DC was not paying because I think both of them had equal amounts of problems, which sounds ridiculous because Disney Marvel can do no wrong. But with Civil War, my expectations were very high because of Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier is close to perfect.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I will tell you that with Winter Soldier, the Russo brothers, they proved so much. They really moved the Marvel Cinematic Universe forward. The character dynamics were really fun, but also really emotional, and the action set pieces were as good, if not better, than the stuff we saw in the ones with big action directors like Joss Whedon. So that raised my hopes very high for Civil War, and I think with Civil War, to me, it was very obvious that this did not start as Civil War. This started as something else, and then they were like, "Can we use this character?" And Kevin Feige was like, "Yeah, sure." Like, how about this character? Kevin Feige was like, "Okay." And how about this one? Why don't we just do Civil War? Kevin Feige was like, "All right." so that's how it felt to me. Yeah. So it's kind of an overstuffed narrative. There's a lot of characters there that they struggle to explain why they're there, and there's a lot of hinting at relationships to be built up in future films, which fine, DC does that too. That's okay. But I felt that then they had to introduce Black Panther and Spider-Man, which I loved. I think both of them were handled really well, acted really well. Chadwick Boseman and Tom Holland, really strong performances, but it felt like they were just all hemmed in, like that was a really small corner that they got to do. And I think that credit where credit is due, I like that it does not end with a giant battle in the city and there's a portal in the sky that you need to save people from. I like that the ending is very personal and your big action set piece is in the middle of the movie rather than the end. That's fine. But I think that this movie, can we spoil things?
I will put up a spoiler alert, I guess.
Okay, so the big twist is that Bucky killed Tony Stark's parents. So,
and no one saw that coming.
Yeah, when they did that, I was like, okay, you know what this is? This is the Joker killing Thomas and Martha Wayne in Batman '89, and that kind of disappointed me because that feels like a bit of a cop out. I don't think it's the worst twist ever. It makes sense. It's fine, but like when Tony Stark went, oh, you killed my mom, like ignoring that
it's not his fault.
Yeah, ignoring that his father died. That to me was sillier than the Martha scene, which is silly, but this was sillier. And then it all became about that, and I was like, oh, why? Because I think that makes it too simplistic. Like, it really reduces the complexity of the relationships of the characters.
Yeah, and the worst part is that, well, I'm pretty sure Tony Stark killed a lot of people in his past.
Yeah, he's probably killed a lot of parents, and I mean, the Maximoff's parents, he killed them too. His stuff, his equipment was used to kill Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's parents, who are not Magneto.
So someone's a little bit hypocritical here. And also, like, oh, never mind, that's nitpicking. It's like, oh, he has all this technology in the world to fight Captain America, right? But he can't even tell that wasn't Bucky. So they're all going after Bucky because, I don't know, because his technology didn't work at that time for some reason.
Yeah, and I think also the explanation for who was on whose side, they didn't have enough time to flesh it out. So some of it worked. Yeah. Like, I really like the scene in the church after Peggy's funeral, where Black Widow was talking to Steve, and she's kind of like, I'm drawing a line to stand here, we're going to have to be on opposite sides. I like that. And but and I feel, okay, so again with the humor, I like the general tone of humor in the MCU movies, but I felt that here it really undercut the tension when they were quipping back and forth, and especially, I think there were a bit too many jokes in the airport fight.
I quite like that.
I don't know.
It's a silly fight.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a silly fight to begin with.
That's
so
kind of
I
the
like
problem, right? I think I don't know how silly it was meant to be because it's supposed to be like this is a family being torn apart. And yeah, and especially like when it chickened out of killing Rhodey and all of that.
Oh yeah. But there was one. I remember there was one part in Disney, I think D23, where they showed one of the footage for Civil War, and it was Scarlett Johansson and Hawkeye fighting each other, and one of them was like, "Hey, but you're still coming with me for dinner, right?" And I think Scarlett Johansson was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, sure." So I guess it could have been worse.
Yeah, that it really could have been worse. And like, okay, what is Hawkeye doing in this movie? What is Ant-Man doing in this movie? Why even,
Ant-Man had to become Giant Man.
Yeah, I guess, and Giant Man was spoiled for us because of the Lego set, which I find funny because I like.
And
sorry, go ahead.
Tom Holland, I thought he talked a little bit too much, but I guess that's a Spider-Man thing.
Yeah, that is a Spider-Man thing. I don't know. I like, okay, fine. That's how you're gonna introduce him, but I'm a little bit reluctant that Spider-Man's origin is gonna be so closely tied into Iron Man now. I don't think that's how it should be, But the way he plays the character, I'm totally fine with. That's as close as it gets to the picture of Spider-Man at the high school age in my head. I'm fine, and I also really like Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. I think that he brings a lot of dignity to the role. He takes it quite seriously. You look at him and you're like, okay, this guy could be a leader. He could be someone people look up to. Yeah, but it felt kind of overstuffed to me, and it felt like it was swinging between tonally being silly and trying to be like, this is gonna change the face of the MCU forever as we know it. And it's kind of like, how are we going to come back from this? How are we going to address all of the fallout from this in Infinity War while you're dealing with other stuff that's going to happen? How are Captain America and Iron Man ever going to be kind of on the same side again? And are we going to have a long-drawn drama because of that,
Only time will tell. Although I'm really looking forward to Thor.
I am.
The second, not the third one.
Yeah, Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And also like, Baron Zemo, a wasted opportunity.
I liked it. I liked it. I like that he was a very small villain.
I know. Yeah.
Because I guess I don't know the history of the character. That's why I'm like, oh, that's nice that they have a villain behind it to just start everything, start all this drama.
Yeah.
And he has a really nice backstory as well on why he wanted to do it.
Like, I'm totally fine with the role that he played in the mechanics of the plot. And I'm totally okay with him not being like Baron Zemo in the comics at all, but I just felt that there's so little personality there that he might as well have not existed. That the Avengers had...
I think it was just a plot device, basically.
Yeah, I wish that they had made more of an effort to disguise that, So that's just the Marvel villain thing, and I'm glad you liked him, though. I'm glad. Is he your favorite villain of 2016?
No, I told you it was the memories in Kimi no
the
Na wa.
abstract concept of memories. My favorite villain of 2016 was Orson Krennic.
It was so bad. I wanted to kill it, but if I killed it, they wouldn't remember each other. The fact that I remember their name says a lot about how much this film has tortured me, because I'm like, I remember their names, so everything is just, it's so bad right now because I remember it, but they don't. Memory, you suck.
Okay, well...
I don't even know what's my favorite villain this year. I guess, I wanted to say Fantastic Beasts, but I don't think that one's that great either.
No, yeah, because it is all like hinges on this review, which is a little bit of a cheat.
Yeah, it is cheap.
Yeah, a little bit.
For me, the film that I didn't get this year at all is Finding Dory.
Oh, okay, yeah. I totally forgot that. Yeah, we had a double bill review of Finding Dory and Independence Day.
And Independence Day.
It's kind of a fun episode. Yeah.
For me, I guess it's just I will be very honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of Pixar. I think that they are very emotionally manipulative. I think that they only have like two good moments most of the time. They only have two good moments in their film, and then the rest of them is just kind of boring to me. Just to me, because obviously I'm wrong, and I know everyone loves Pixar, but
no,
Finding
that's
Dory,
fine. I mean, this is what it's about, right? Like I always say whatever you want as long as you can back it up, and I'm sure you have good rationales.
And I mean, when I watch Inside Out, I'm like, oh yes, I finally like a Pixar film that everyone likes.
Good. Yeah. Oh.
And then I watch Finding Dory, and I'm like, oh great, it's back.
Okay.
my cynicism towards
Yeah,
Pixar is just
your ambivalence towards Pixar is like, I
yeah.
don't get it.
Well, honestly, I don't really like them that much. It's not really ambivalence
Okay, so it's
anymore.
yeah, the scale is a little bit past.
Yeah,
I see.
I don't know. Like Finding Dory is just it's a movie. There's nothing fantastic about it. I
It's going on the poster.
the best part is best part about it is like Ty Burrell being woo. That's my favorite part of the film. And for me, Finding Dory Finding Nemo worked in when I was a kid because I like Dory is a fun character and she's very funny as a side character, but the heart of the story had always been about Merlin and Nemo, and I love that as and even as an adult, whenever I watch it, I'm like, oh, that's such a sweet relationship that a father who's so scared of the wild and who's so scared of the outside because of anything bad, he would do anything for his son, and I thought like that was such a beautiful story to be told. And Dory was a great character because she was funny, but she brought a lot of heart. And I always love Ellen DeGeneres' line delivery of what was it?
Just
I
keep
look at
swimming.
you. No, hang on. I look at you and I'm home or something, right? Like that.
Yeah.
I'm butchering the thing. It's like I look at you and I'm home, and I think that's one of the most beautiful lines I've ever heard in my life. And I really wish I came up with that line because it's so beautiful. But Finding Dory was such a huge disappointment because it was everything I knew. I kind of figured out that it would be about Dory, and it would just be her and her shenanigans, and it wouldn't be as grand as I hoped it would be. I mean, I know it takes place in one single area, which is odd because it's a sequel, and usually sequels go bigger. So I do
Yeah.
appreciate that they did go smaller in this.
Right. Yeah.
But I thought like the I don't know, maybe it's someone with I can't relate to her because I mean I'm terrible at remembering things as well, but I don't ever see it as a character flaw. I see it more as a I don't know how to say it without offending anyone because I know I will because she has short-term memory loss
Yeah.
and long-term I guess.
It's portrayed as an illness, as a condition. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's great that I don't even know what the message is. Like, oh, you may have long-term or short-term memory loss, but you're not useless or something, which I never thought Dory ever was because she's the reason they found Nemo. And what else is there? I don't know. Like the film is just I watched it and it was okay, and that was what I felt. And you know what I said about me being terrible at remembering films that I don't like. This is it for Finding Dory. The only reason why I brought it up was because it's that one film where I tried to think back to see why I didn't like the film as much, and as in compared to other people, and I just don't know why people like it as much as they do. And I'm trying to figure it out, but I think it's just a Pixar thing. Like I don't understand the magic of Pixar. That's why I'm always like on the outside looking in.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that was so dismissive of me. No, I totally get it, and this, yeah, we did go over like sort of the message of the film, and I liked it. I liked Finding Dory. I didn't expect to. When I watched all the trailers and when I heard about it, I was very, very skeptical about this, and I was like, maybe this is the one Pixar movie outside of the Cars series that I'll really end up hating. And I liked it. I thought it was fine. I think what worked is that it didn't really feel cash grabby, because I thought this is just a cash grab. You know, you're making a movie, a sequel so many years later. Who's even gonna care? But I think they retained.
Everyone did.
Yeah, they retained enough of
$1 billion.
Yeah, it's
Was
another
it billion?
big winner. It probably did cross the billion mark. Yeah, it's either the second or third highest grossing movie of 2016. And I liked the setting. I thought that the Marine Life Institute was a clever sort of thing to do. I liked the characters. They had the gimmick was fun enough with Hank and his whole octopus camouflage thing. I liked how
That's insane animation, by the way.
it's very clever, yeah. And I liked how they went back and they gave us just enough of Dory's backstory, and the thing with her parents, like it is simple, and I think it works. It's just like one day she got lost, you know, and ever since then she's the tragedy of it is she can't even remember that she did get lost. And then suddenly she does, so that kicks off the plot. And I think they advanced Marlin's character enough such that he has learned one or two lessons from the events of Finding Nemo, but this has not changed the core of who he is. So he still sometimes reverts to the one scene I thought was really funny is when they're looking at a tank full of royal blue tanks, and he's saying to Dory, "Can you just pick two to pretend to be your parents and go?" and that's that it funnily enough, like, it kind of reminds of my dad. It reminds me of my dad because he is a very efficient person and he wants to move on quickly to the next thing, so he always has a checklist of things to get done. So I thought that was really funny. And yeah, I it did not feel like DreamWorksy, which is what I gauge. Like, animated films I feel lukewarm towards will usually feel DreamWorksy.
Oh man.
Yeah, so
I
it's
just
okay
didn't like
to
how
disagree.
Finding Dory, like, they gave her a lot of Dory's backstory sort of perverted a little bit too much into Finding Nemo. I feel
Okay.
like where she got just keep swimming from, and how she found, I mean, spoiler alert, but it's not really that big of a spoiler because it's a kids film, but you know, how she finds her parents in the end, it's a little bit too, you know, convoluted, I feel. And the whole climax is convoluted as well.
I love that. It was hilarious. Him driving the truck, I thought that was really funny. That's just me.
I don't know. Like, this film, I really wish I liked it more than I did because I love Finding Nemo so much. Oh well, what to do?
No, that's good. Yeah. I'm glad we covered that in that's where, yeah, and I don't, because a lot of times when people have this category where it's like movies that don't get why people love, it's being contrarian for the sake of it. But I don't think that's what happened here. I feel I'm gonna do a bit of self-praise. I feel like we both justified why we didn't like these movies as much as others did. And you did not hate Finding Dory, and I did not hate Civil War. So yeah, let's just be clear on that.
It's just that we don't understand it.
We don't understand why it's loved as much as it is. We're like, it's okay.
And it's both Disney, by the way.
That's true, yeah. Disney makes...
I guess Disney's doing something right.
Here's one thing, right? Disney, for sure, of course, it made the most money at the box office, but do you know who the runner-up studio is?
I would say Warner Brothers,
yeah,
because of Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
and Harry Potter.
Yeah, and Fantastic Beasts. It is Warner Brothers, and I think people always want to portray Warner Brothers as the idiot kid in the class who makes all the mistakes. But and they certainly aren't doing the best job at taking care of their properties right now. But I don't think we should completely dismiss every single thing that Warner's does, like every step they make. So I hope people not. I mean, I'm not trying to say that the DCEU can do no wrong, because obviously they can. But
and they did. Sorry.
I guess so. Yeah, the general consensus is they did. But I don't want it to be that everybody says, I'm just gonna walk into anything with this brand and hate it and say it's gonna be bad no matter what. And I think that that's not healthy for any brand, any studio. Yeah, I don't do that. If DreamWorks, for example, and I am not the hugest fan of most of the stuff DreamWorks does. But I guess, like, if we look back at How to Train Your Dragon, I love that franchise, and I love Kung Fu Panda, yeah, and I really, really love Prince of Egypt. Prince of Egypt is one of my favorite animated films. Yeah, because I guess that was before DreamWorks really became DreamWorks.
Yeah, like, I don't think you should count Prince of Egypt.
Yeah,
like, that's so far from what DreamWorks is now.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, most of it is influenced by Shrek.
Yeah, which is, and I love the first two Shreks too.
Me too, yeah.
It went downhill after that. Megamind is really good. Please watch it if you haven't.
I have not watched Megamind. Yeah, weirdly enough, I have
Please watch it. Like, it's very DreamWorks, as you said, but there's a lot of heart, and Will Ferrell does such an amazing job as Megamind. It's really, really good. It was one of my favorite animated films of that year, I think. And that year had so many great animated films. It was the same year as How to Train Your Dragon, I think.
Yeah, 2010, right?
Yeah, so it had Toy Story 3, had How to Train Your Dragon, had Rapunzel. Yeah. You know, I sort of liked Despicable Me when it came out. Then Despicable Me 2 came out, and I was like, oh god, I can't go back. So
yeah,
bad.
I think Despicable Me worked because the first one worked because it was wacky, because it was, it had these
and
really
it was so little minions.
Yeah, it had these really off-the-wall ideas, but it suffered from breakout character-itis, which is when you take a breakout character and you're like, oh, this is what people want more of. And the Minions are the best example of that, because I don't think they are bad conceptions in and of themselves, but when they start to overrun everything, and then when the whole franchise is driven by that, then you start to see where the problem is.
All right, let's go on to moving news. And unfortunately, well, this should be very close to you, but Carrie Fisher has passed away
Oh yeah.
during Christmas, which is kind of sad. Do you see the episode? I think it was 8 out of 10 Cats, where it's a British show.
Yeah, is it 9
and
out
they
of 10
asked her.
cats? I don't know. It's
I thought it was 8 out of 10.
something like that.
And they asked her what she was doing this Christmas, and I was like, oh man, and I couldn't watch the episode after that.
Oh. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
okay. So I'm halfway through Bright Light, starring Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds, which is the documentary that was screened at Cannes last year, and it's just like, because you look at the relationship that she had with her mom, with Debbie Reynolds, who passed away a day after she did, and there is so much more to Carrie Fisher than Princess Leia, but I'm not one of those people who's gonna be like, oh, you only care about the character Princess Leia, you don't care about.
And there's nothing wrong with that too.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, because Princess Leia, when I watched Star Wars for the first time, I'm like, oh my god, she's a lot more of a badass than I thought that she was gonna be.
Yeah, she's a cultural icon. She has such a dynamic role within that franchise, and her character is developed really, really well, even beyond the films, into the expanded universe. The stories where she becomes a Jedi and things like that. And with Carrie Fisher, like, there was one tweet from this feminist writer that just got me really angry. You probably know what I'm talking about, where she tweeted out this photo of Carrie Fisher in The Force Awakens, where she's General Organa. She's like, oh, this is the Princess Leia that I remember. Everyone is
General Ortega. Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw that
yes.
too.
And then she was like, Leia is so much more important to the rebellion, and all of the other guys are all losers and they all quit. And she's stuck in there. It's like, why do you have to turn it into this? And belittle other people and become sanctimonious in your memorializing of this actress? I don't think that's in the spirit of celebrating her at all. So that pissed me off. And yeah, so I guess it hurts because we are in a resurgence of Star Wars right now, and because General Leia has been set up to play such an important role in Episode 8, and presumably beyond, that they will have to change, and that will affect the trajectory of the story because of Carrie Fisher's passing. And I think that Episode 8 was, and probably still is, going to be very much about the Skywalker siblings and their role in this world that has changed. And especially like how the Skywalker siblings directly relate to the failure of Kylo Ren, because Kylo Ren is Leia's son and he is the apprentice of Luke. So each of them have their failings or have their regrets over the way he turned out, So I felt that is a great emotional core, and I'm just assuming here, but I'm assuming that that's going to be the emotional core of Episode 8, is how Luke and Leia come back together and react to and deal with, what Kylo Ren has wrought.
Yeah, and I remember during the Star Wars recording, Sophia said, "Oh, I'm really sad now that we can't see, the original trio together on screen again."
Yes,
and then I
me
joked,
too.
"Well, you can have a ghost, you can have a Force ghost, haha," and then everyone will be together. I'm like, "Oh no,
now we
that
can't do that.
as well.
Yeah.
Unless they talk in it,
Right,
but
which
I
I
don't want
hope
that to
they
happen.
don't do, because that still creeps me out a little bit. I guess it would look less obvious with a Force ghost, because at one point they wanted to do Tarkin just as holograms. Which,
and they should have.
Yeah, I think that would have worked better. Well, Carrie Fisher has finished her scenes for Episode 8, but she hasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, but she hasn't started filming Episode 9. And I think with Carrie Fisher, I love this one woman show which she did, and one of my ex-colleagues watched it live, which I'm quite jealous about, called Wishful Drinking, which she did in 2010. So that is like a monologue she did based on her book, her autobiography, and she tells stories of her life, and she's very candid, and it's bittersweet, it's honest, it's really emotional and very painful, because she did not have an easy life, even though she was born into a show business family. Famously, her mother is Debbie Fisher. Debbie Reynolds, who also passed away from Singing in the Rain and Singing for Molly Brown. and then her dad was a singer, Eddie Fisher, and then they had a very high-profile divorce because Eddie Fisher, he ran away with Elizabeth Taylor, who was a huge movie star at the time. It's kind of like Jennifer Aniston, Brad Pitt, and Angelina Jolie if we contextualize it in modern terms. Yeah, so that, of course, is going to do a number on you as a child, and then she had problems with substance abuse, with drugs and alcohol, and she suffers from bipolar, or she suffered from bipolar disorder. So the honesty with which she's talked about all of these issues, it gives it a very human layer, in addition to, this is gossip about Hollywood. This is a tell-all sort of thing, especially the thing where she talks about her affair with Harrison Ford. I think that there's more to it than that, and I feel like a lot of people have been helped by her approach to her setbacks and her life as a whole.
Oh, she's an amazing woman. I can just tell you that. She's really funny. I always go back and listen to all her. I'm not sure which one it is, but there's one with she was talking about George Lucas during one of his awards for some
Oh yeah,
lifetime
she was
achievement or
roasting
something.
him at like the
Yeah, it
AFIs.
was.
Yeah,
That's one of my favorite things ever,
yeah,
and I
it's
just
great.
watch that almost like on a monthly basis because she's so funny, and it's amazing how down to earth she is despite all the fame that she has, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I love how she's so open about her flaws and how she's so open about her mental illness and how she's not afraid to say that. And I think because of that, she's such a she's such a hero to so many people, and it's so sad to see her just pass away that randomly, I guess, on a Christmas, or was it Christmas or was it Christmas after Christmas, Boxing Day?
Yeah, it was the 25th or the 26th. I think it was
Yeah.
actually the 27th, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
So
it's one of my friends'
I was
birthday, and she said, "Oh, this happened on my birthday."
yeah, I was really sad that that happened because I saw her on Ellen as well, and it's like, oh, she's so fun, and I'll miss her interview so much because she's she's such a hero, man. Like, she's amazing, and she's a great actress as well.
Yeah,
And I
and
love
she's such a talented writer, and I did just go back and I watched for the first time Postcards from the Edge, which is the semi-autobiographical film she wrote based on her novel, and there's a character based on her played by Meryl Streep, and then the character based on Debbie Reynolds is played by Shirley MacLaine. So it is her interpretation of their relationship as mother and daughter, and it's a really beautiful movie. Some of it is a little bit too broad comedically, I think, but I think it's very well acted by Meryl Streep and Shirley MacLaine, and it's very illuminating to see Carrie Fisher sort of tell her story indirectly in that form.
Yeah. Oh, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. Okay, so rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. At least you had your ashes in a pill or something
Yeah,
like that.
in the Prozac. The attitude with which she confronts her past and with which she talks about all of her setbacks, I think that is such a healthy attitude. I feel that everyone should aspire to that, to be able to laugh at yourself, but also to have the honesty to admit your flaws and to talk about how you've learned, how you've changed from that, or how you've not changed. I think that is gonna help a lot of people if they make an effort to take that on, Yep.
Yep. I don't think we have any more time for other news.
Uh-huh.
So, is there anything you want a quick fire news thing? Wes Anderson, he's directing a stop motion feature. That's cool. I really loved Mr.
Fantastic Mr. Fox, yeah,
Mr. Fox,
starring
yes.
Meryl Streep
Such a
as
great
well.
film.
Yeah, Meryl Streep. Okay.
Yeah, his new film is called Isle of Dogs. So
okay, that's coming out this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. 2017. There's a bunch of stuff to look forward to, and I think at the end of the day, I'm most curious about Blade Runner 2049.
Yes, because it's also the same director as Arrival.
Yeah,
right?
Denis Villeneuve, and we'll talk about Arrival next week. There's so much to talk about with Arrival. I love it so much.
Yes.
So yeah,
I'm looking forward to that film.
Yeah.
And Woody Harrelson is in talks to play Han Solo's mentor, whatever that means.
If he's just doing like Haymitch in Star Wars, I would also be up for that. I'd be like, that's fine, because his Haymitch is really great. Yeah, and I think that it's Phil Lord and Chris Miller, so it's probably going to be mostly a comedy, and Woody Harrelson has really good comic timing. Also, if he does his character from Zombieland, that would be great too. If he's just that character from Zombieland? Is it Tallahassee? Yeah, he's just
I don't remember.
he's so funny in Zombieland. Like all of them are great in Zombieland. Just the
Yeah,
Eisenberg and
Zombieland is a fantastic movie.
very, very
even though I
clever.
didn't like that. The boy gets to go in the end or whatever.
Yeah,
That's kind of lame, but it didn't affect the film. I really liked it.
Bill Murray's cameo. Like I think at one point they said they
Yes.
wanted Mark Hamill, and Mark Hamill said no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just like that Emma Stone started laughing after he died.
Yeah.
That was really funny. Well, what's the one thing you regret? Garfield?
Maybe Garfield. Oh, so good. Alright, so yeah, that's our first episode of 2017.
Yes, and so next week we're watching The Arrival or Arrival.
That's The Arrival, yeah.
I really hope like this film isn't overhyped for me.
Yeah, okay, alright, it sucks. So just go with
It sucks. Yes, I was like preparing to be disappointed in La La Land, so I'm really glad I wasn't.
No, yeah. Okay, so with Arrival, like, I think the main thing I would tell you is don't go in expecting an action-oriented story at all.
Oh, don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of more like slow burns.
Yes.
But not. I know like this. I keep bringing this film up because it's one of the films that I really don't like. It's not like Godzilla. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think it's like Godzilla.
It's not worth it.
I think that what really works for me for Arrival is that it's smart science fiction, but it doesn't flail about saying, "Look at me, I'm smart," which
yeah. Okay.
And the whole device of the linguistics thing, that's kind of fun because my mom is a linguist, and yeah, so like a lot of like I've said before, a lot of movies and TV shows, they have a fake alien language that has been constructed from the ground up, but that is mostly used as texture. It's just to add a little bit to the background. This one, the alien language is the backbone of the plot, so I kind of admire that.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so see you guys next week.
Yeah, we'll see you at the movies in 2017. Bye.
Bye.